part of the team who work on the Grow Back Greener Fund. So it's really nice to be here. So yeah, the Festival of Ideas essentially has come about part of the London's recovery to COVID. There's the London Recovery Board. There's a number of missions which the mayor and the chair of London councils are heading up, and one of those missions is around building stronger communities. And the Festival of Ideas is really around, firstly, kind of celebrating and identifying all the things that communities already do, which sort of make them strong and diverse and kind of showed their strength in response to the crisis and beyond. But also we're really keen to kind of spark people's imaginations and hear from organizations like yourselves and people like yourselves, like what actually do you think London needs to look like as we kind of recover and build back. And something that we're really excited about through the festival is that we've invited, you know, organizations who work in lots of different spaces and lots of different sectors to have conversations, have events as part of this festival, to really show the kind of diversity of what communities can do to build back stronger. So I was really keen to join this activity, this event, which is looking at kind of green spaces and what that looks like in terms of strong communities. And there's sort of a host of activity going on up until the end of July as part of this festival, which are exploring sort of strong communities in lots of different ways. So thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Brilliant, thank you, Hannah. That's really great. And if people want to find out about Festival Ideas, I guess Google it and find out what's out there. So the Grow, I think so Incredible, just to give you some background, Incredible Edible Lambeth applied on behalf of 6 estates in Lambeth for the Grow Back Greener funding from the Mayor's Fund. It had 2 strands to the bid and to the grant. One of them was to create a template of engagement around estate green spaces, how residents use them and engage with them, but also about how councils and housing associations manage those spaces, and actually how it's a big conversation to be had, because often they're treated as municipal spaces, whereas actually residents, for them, often people living in flats with very little space, those spaces are actually really important. And also they're a vital community resource for people to come together, to start looking after their environment together, and also having a place to have a recreation space, a place to socialise, hang out, get to know other people. So the template of engagement is about 2 things. One of them is about making these spaces more available to the people who actually live on estates. And the other side of it is about suggesting to those who manage those spaces, council and housing associations, that actually by making very simple systemic changes to the way they manage space, they can really have a great impact on their aims at reducing carbon emissions, stopping a biodiversity crisis. So simple things like composting all green waste on site, creates a habitat, reduces carbon emissions, and starts building up the soils on estates and making those spaces richer in so many different ways while saving money. And there's quite a few different things like that. For example, your local tree surgeon, have them deliver wood chip instead of buying bark mulch. Simple stuff that gardeners get all the time. Food waste composting on estates with clever and sustainable food waste compost. So all of these aims are to make our estates more sustainable, to reduce their carbon emissions, but also to engage the community in them, and to start having a broader vision of what these spaces can mean to both people and the planet. So that was one side of the project, and we did that in collaboration with people living on estates through a series of consultations and conversations, really. And then the other side of the project was for 6 different estates in Lambeth, were applied for a pot of money each to recreate green and brown spaces on their estates with their communities. And it's been an interesting process. It's definitely had its challenges, as I'm sure the different people on the estates can contest. I don't know if that, no, that's not the right word. Agree with, have experienced. But I think it's been a really interesting process. It's been a huge learning experience for everybody. And obviously, because of the pandemic and the funding was rolled out in January, that has meant that it's all taken so much longer than we thought, because of it's quite hard to do a gardening project on Zoom, is what we found. Yeah, it's quite hard to make real life things happen on Zoom. So I think, Janie, do you think there's anything more I need to add there?
No, I think that's really great. I think
okay. So we've got
into it.
Yeah, we've got a few different people talking from the estate. And I think first up, we're going to have Catherine Pengelly. And the people we've got from the estates are Catherine Pengelly from the Central Hill Estate, which is up in Crystal Palace. We've got Jackie Crawford, who's from the St Martin's Estate in Tulse Hill. We've got Jerome Webb, who is from the Vauxhall Gardens Estate. And I think that is all the estates. We've got other people couldn't come because they had other commitments, I'm afraid.
But we've also got Fran here.
And Fran. So I'll introduce Fran as well. Fran, would you like to introduce yourself and just quickly say what part you're playing in the process?
Yeah. Hi everyone. And I am Francesco, and I collaborate with Asta, and we have developed a form of community engagement that is called LOT, that aims to assign pieces of urban land to communities, and we built the proposition that was a graduation project with specifically Jenny before the pandemic, so in collaboration with the IEL, and we are helping to develop some signage that is gonna raise awareness in these estates, and connect to the Incredible Edible website for further information, and to have a tool that can be updated and can be used as a source of information for the amount of people that inhabits estates. Because, for example, in the Elderhead estates, that there are no representatives tonight, there are 1,000 dwelling, which is quite a lot. And I mean, we hope and we think that having that connection with the digital part and the website of Incredible Edible is going to help spread the message, raise awareness, and help people to understand what to do.
Great, thank you, Francesco. They've been brilliant. So we'll start off with, is someone in the waiting? We'll start off with Catherine. Do you want to tell us a little bit? The question is what has been the change to your community through being part of this funding and having that funding come into your estate?
Thanks, Poppy. I'll just quickly say I'm sitting on the stairs of a B&B, so if anybody walks past, I might have to get up, but I'll keep talking. Yeah, I think the first thing, several things I think the project has brought to us. So the first thing is that we were just really excited to be successful in the funding, because it was the first funding that we'd applied for, and it's really given us, that feeling that we can get grant money. There are lots of other sources out there as well. So I think it's given us that kind of confidence to apply for other things in the future, and that feeling that, that kind of nice feeling you get of there's lots of good things around rather than things are a shortage. So it gave us a nice boost to get the funding in the first place. And then also I think it's important that gardening is a really sort of positive thing for us, because being one of the regeneration estates, we mostly had the resident association had mostly sort of had a bit negative things that we were dealing with, campaigning against regeneration or trying to get repairs done, and leaks and stuff. whereas gardening is a really positive thing to talk to people about. And I mean, it's positive for us to do, but it's also nice to have something positive to post about in our Facebook page and things like that. And then the actual project itself, which for people who know, on Central Hill, we've been doing a vegetable garden at one end and like a kind of woodland nature garden at the other end. They're both really sort of flourishing. They've come on really well, and it's brought people together to do it. One of the things we wanted to do was connect people on the estate and off the estate. So people from the neighbouring roads that are right opposite the estate have also got involved, which is really nice because we wanted to kind of bridge that gap. So that's been a really good thing. And apart from the people who've actually actively kind of been involved in the gardening, I think one of the really nice things is all the people who are glad it's happening, even though they're not actually coming to dig. You know, we get so many people walking past, stopping by and just say, oh, you know, I came in to have a look, you know, when we weren't there. So we didn't know that they'd been in to have a look, but I think people are really appreciating what's going on. And I think it's really true that there's a lot of people can be glad that something's happening nearby them, even if they don't actively get involved themselves. So it's important to, you know, if you just look at the numbers of the people who come, they're not the only people who benefit from it being there. So yeah, it's lovely when people walk by and want to come in and have a look round, and we can explain it to them what we're doing, what we're growing. So those are all really positive things. And then we've got a lot of food growing. So I'm sure when it's all ready, it's going to be more than we can manage to eat ourselves. So then we're going to have the fun of deciding what to do with the food. And, you know, we've talked about, will we have a stall, or will we donate some to a local food kitchen? So those will all be like kind of extra links out to the community. What do we do with the food? And then with the forest garden, we're hoping to have some kids activities there, like sort of a bit inspired by forest school, to get kids sort of involved in nature and spending time in nature there. So yeah, I think those are the main positive things that come to mind. It's been a real success, and it's definitely going to carry on after the time of the Grow Back Greener project. So yeah, thanks for all your help with it and inspiration.
Thanks, Catherine. Yeah, thanks, Catherine. I must say your group, I thought it was quite interesting that you're a regeneration group, and actually having faced the prospect of regeneration means that you were already really galvanized as a group and really good at working together and making decisions together, which actually is, from my experience, a big part of the challenge of community working is getting people, you know, listening and working together. So would you say that was true?
Yeah, I think we had quite a good core group, but so yeah, that probably did help us to sort of get going and make decisions. And we had a group of people who we could rely on to kind of turn up at the beginning while other people were joining. But yeah, as I say, it was really nice to have something positive to do rather than the more negative stuff that we'd had to be dealing with. So yeah, it's a really good tonic in that way.
Yeah, well, it's looking amazing. The space is looking amazing. And thanks so much, Catherine. And that's up on Central Hill in Crystal Palace. If anyone's walking by, you can always pop in, walk around, have a look. So the next estate that I think I'll just ask now, has anyone got any specific questions they'd like to ask Catherine briefly? Can't have lots of questions, but has anyone, because I think she might go soon, being as she's in the B&B. No, I think you're all right. I can't see any in the chat. Thanks so much. Oh yes, Marjorie's got a question.
Hi Catherine, well done. It sounds like a great project. Do you have photographs? Because it's always useful to show people photographs of the nature area or the food you're growing. And, you know, we could capture that on the IEL website and it would just be brilliant.
Yeah, we are taking lots of photos as we go along. I haven't sent any to Poppy for a while, but yeah, I can put them in the Dropbox or whatever it's called.
Yeah, put them in the Dropbox.
Yeah, no, you're right. It is great to show how something progresses, because it reminds you how far you've come. You get used to seeing what's there, but yeah, we certainly will. Thank you.
Thanks, Marge. Yeah, I did try and put a slideshow together for this evening, but I'm afraid I ran out of time, so I'm sorry everybody, to go with people talking. Next up, I thought I'd ask Jackie from St Martin's, who's been such a such a shame I haven't got the photos to show everyone, because it's been so brilliant and such a lot of fun. Jackie, over to you.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Can I apologise? I'm kind of slightly double booked, so I'm actually at the South Bank and it's very wet, but I'm happy to be here. Yeah, I can echo so much of what Catherine said. Really, it's really, I've made so many new friends, and we've now got a group of 4 families that are connected by WhatsApp and making sure that we water, not that we need to water at the moment. And maintaining the area, and it still looks beautiful. We were so pleased with it. This was an area where we just had like 2 dead trees and nothing else, and it was very sad. Whereas now, whenever the weather is good, I look out there, all the kids are playing, their families are out, they've got somewhere to sit. But also I think it's spanning the generations. So I do see, we've got a very quiet neighbour. I see him early in the morning watering. The kids come and help me weed. Even the teenage boys like it, you know. It's lovely. We've got a large block that overlooks the main area that we did. I've had a neighbour who came and gave me a gift of some peppers that he's grown with his daughters, and he was saying that although you won't see people out, they're all talking about it because they look out on this space, and what they see when they look out now is beautiful, and that was lovely to feel that they appreciate it that much. Yes, so we our next bit is to grow food, and that's quite exciting. So I think and we've got some budding young gardeners. I think that's really, I love that the kids are quite keen to find out what things are and what to do. You know, that's wonderful.
And you've had some really lovely community events where people have brought food. You've had your gazebo up.
Yeah.
And really, really positive, lovely get-togethers where lots of people have come out and walked by. And
they keep asking me, when are we going to have a party? Obviously we'll leave the weather, but they keep saying, when are we, because we have talked about having a social event. People are very keen for that, so hopefully we'll get that sorted soon.
Yeah. Janie, have you got a question for Jackie?
Yeah, I just, Jackie, it's so great. And I wanted to say to everybody that on the Eventbrite invite, that was at St Martin's. I think that was Saleha, amongst others. And Sophie's nodding, and I wondered if Sophie wanted to say anything, because I think she's involved too with St Martin's.
Yeah, that's right. Sorry, I've messed up with timing for this, so I can just pop in for a few minutes. Totally echoing what Jackie has said. It's been I've moved in only in January, so it's been a sort of brilliant start and welcoming to the estate and to the people living there. It's been just a fantastic way of getting to know everybody, and the people there are really coming out from having been very not very sharing, not very present, but really coming out and having chats with people you wouldn't normally talk to at all. And as Jackie was saying, we really do want to have a bigger social kind of event, maybe in autumn, well, in August at some point. It just gets a lot of people socializing, and the kids especially are really keen to get involved. We have some kids there who are really brilliant. I think one of them, Milena, is only 5 or something, but she's an expert at repotting plants. She's simply really brilliant. And it's just a lovely thing to see when these kids usually just stay on that pavement, and it's a little bit sad, but they know the name of all the plants, and they can tell you, and it's just yeah, a very enthusiastic group.
Thanks, Sophie. Yeah, really, really lovely. And the transformation made in Chalice Way, and also on another part of the estate where we haven't got anyone talking from that area of the estate, Abbots Park. On both areas, the places have really been transformed and really brought neighbours together to start looking after the spaces together. And yeah, really, really lovely. It looks so different, doesn't it? I think Fran put that in the chat. It's been totally transformed. Thank you, Sophie, and thank you, Jackie. And in fact, I am also on your estates. Other people have been inspired, haven't they? And there's like other residents contacting the housing association to make changes in their spaces, which I think is really brilliant as well. Okay, I'll say that in a minute, Janie. The next person I was going to ask to talk is Jerome, who is coming from Vauxhall Gardens estate. Are you there, Jerome? There he is. You're on mute.
Yeah, sweet, I'm back.
Great.
Cool. My battery on my laptop is a bit low, so if I do cut out, that's the thing. In terms of your questions about what change is brought to our communities, I think the big one to start with is community resilience. Coming out of COVID-19, it's been tough on everyone on this call right now and our extended families. But coming out of COVID-19, how do we become more resilient as a community? And I think this opportunity with Incredible Edible and the Grow Back Greener, it allows residents to speak to each other. It bridges that gap of talking to your neighbor or breaking the ice. So gardening is a great tool to allow people to connect. So I think, yeah, community resilience is something that will change coming out of COVID-19. Also, the fact of food insecurity. You've got loads of food banks popping up, food services trying to help lower income families that don't have any food to eat. So I think addressing, if we're growing food as a form of quiet activism, then it will empower residents to grow as a form of activism, but just a way to be healthy, to nourish the body, the mind. We know gardening is good for mental health. It's good therapy. When you're going out and you're pulling out those weeds and you're just in the moment. So I think, yeah, it's a great change in terms that we can now reach out to maybe young people that are suffering from mental health and don't have anyone to talk to or to turn to. The government's not there for them. So maybe if we engage, different target areas, then yeah, it's a great tool. Also, a big change is when we implement compost bins on our Grow Back Greener sites. Again, we can engage the community to put their kitchen scraps into the compost bin, and then they can be part of the process. You know, we can buy some worms to put in. We can get them to turn the compost, teach them about greens, browns, and organic matter. So yeah, it's a great educational tool. We're in, you know, a terrible climate situation, so we can educate our residents that we can reduce, well, you can take the first step to reducing carbon emissions. So I think if you put it across like that, they'll be more likely to take their kitchen scraps.
We just lost Jerome.
I think we've lost him. Yeah.
Oh, that's a shame. The laptop. So yeah, great what Jerome was saying. And on Vauxhall Gardens Estate, I think that's Lambeth's biggest council estate. And you know, things they've planted a hedgerow and engaging. They did all the outreach in the block that the green that the Grow Back Greener funding is being focused on this particular area, and they did outreach and door knocking in the whole block, and actually they didn't have one negative response, you know, for the project, which, having lived on a council estate myself for many years, and I'm sure other people can agree with, is that quite often in the past people can be quite contentious, the changing of green space. So it's very encouraging that people are really open to change and are actually quite excited and want to grow food. And he's in the waiting room. Let's see if we can admit him. Here he is.
Yeah, sorry about that, guys. You probably won't be able to see me now, but I am still here. I don't know, I was kind of in a flow state. But compost bins, you know, it's helping to reduce emissions. It's a good way to engage and allow participation of the residents to be involved. So yeah, community resilience, community cohesion as well. I think that is a big thing as well. How can we grow together? You know, and gardening allows us to bridge that gap with our neighbours and people that live in our area. So I think the big question here is, how do people feel about their local area? And everyone has ideas of how it can be transformed, but it's about sharing those ideas collaboratively to do it. So yeah, that's what I feel like the change is through this project.
Thanks, Jerome. That's brilliant. Has anyone got any questions for Jerome that they'd like to ask him about the project on Vauxhall Gardens? No, I think we're okay. I know we've got some people from other estates. There's Di, and I'm wondering if anyone else would just want to talk about gardening on their estate. Di?
I'm just wondering how many people on Vauxhall Gardens? How many blocks? How many flats, shall we say? How many residences?
Do you know, Jerome?
He's gone. It's the biggest estate, isn't it?
I'm not sure. I know it's over 1,000. It's the biggest estate in Lambeth, Di, that's under the council. It's a very large area. Wait, did you think Tulse Hill was?
No, I just wondered, comparatively speaking, because I was wondering when Jerome said he didn't get a single negative response, and that is pretty inspiring. I'm hoping, I mean, I've only got a half plan and I don't know who to approach with that. But we've got a WhatsApp group for the estate, and they've all been learning about the rubbish collection. There's a whole load of issues, and I think that if we focus on the gardening, that could give a whole load of solutions. And if you can approach it in a really positive way, that would be great. And encourage composting and all the things that Jerome's saying. Yeah, wonderful. It's just really how many people is he dealing with? Same sort of thing, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was specifically in Duffel House, which is the house where it is. But we've had, when we did a consultation event, we had one person come along who just went, it's all going to be rubbish and everyone's going to destroy everything. But I think he'd say that about anything, really. And you've got to keep trying, haven't you? You've just got to keep trying. I think all of us have got to keep trying, because I think, you know, change does need to happen, doesn't it, in how we approach these spaces. And in fact, we haven't really talked about biodiversity on any of the estates, but I know on all the estates we're thinking about what's being planted to be thoughtful of biodiversity, creating different habitats, biodiverse habitats. Composting creates new biodiverse habitats. On the boiler garden, so I might talk about the boiler garden because there's nobody here from the boiler garden. That's on Myattsfield South Estate. The boiler garden is where there was a temporary boiler for that estate, and it's all fenced off with this big industrial fencing, and it was not decommissioned properly by the council for about 4 years. So it's actually still been rigged up to had a huge amount of electricity going to a little electric shed. Gas was still not properly cut off within the space, and also massive mains water. So a massive part of the process has actually been working with the council to decommission the site effectively so that it is safe and ready to be used. And as of Friday, the site has now been completely decommissioned and can now be used by the residents, which is an amazing thing for that estate. They have opened up a huge area which can now be used for a community garden, whereas before it was like a big ugly space full of rubbish that no one could go into and that was derelict. So I think, you know, that's a really exciting thing for that estate, opening up this space for people to use for the community to get together to grow food. So I really feel like this Grow Back Greener project, a big part of it has been about re-looking at the spaces around us and how they can be occupied and shared, and also thinking about them in terms of the planet, in terms of reducing carbon emissions, changing practices and increasing biodiversity, I hope. Is there anyone else from a different estate who would like to say anything at all, or any questions?
Georgina's here from Caldwell. Would you like to say anything, Georgina? You're on mute if you'd like to speak. Maybe she's not there.
Yeah, I'm going to have a quick look through the chats.
And Inez is from Edmondsbury.
Hi.
Oh, hi.
Can you hear me? It's Inez.
No, this is Georgina, is it?
No, this is Inez from Edmondsbury.
Inez, good.
Hi, Hi, Inez.
Hi, everyone. I'm really listening to what you lot are saying, and I mean, we've been quite unfortunate this year because we've had a lot of damage to our raised beds, so it's kind of been quite slow. But yeah, we're growing stuff, and we've had a lot of people come and a lot of people talking, and no one's not doing no work, just me and Paul Brian. But things are growing. But our biggest challenge this year was that the raised beds were damaged, and we sort of said to the council, but then now she's saying that it's up to us. So that was our biggest problem, and we don't know about the funding. What's this funding?
So this is quite, because I've worked on Edmondsbury, Inez, doing the community gardening like quite a lot of years ago, with the Edible Living Scheme, which was set up by the council on Edmondsbury, wasn't it? With the raised beds.
Yeah.
This funding was just for 6 estates through the Mayor's Fund, through Incredible Edible Lambeth. But this is something we have been talking to the council about, how actually what people, and this has also been our experience of the Grow Back Greener Fund, is actually what people really want is practical help to build and maintain growing spaces.
Yeah.
And I'm surprised they're not repairing them for you.
No, they're not. This is a battle that we've been having. It's dangerous as well.
Is it? How did they get damaged?
It's just normal wear and tear, because like people come on the, like some of the beds sides are rotten, and then, you know, people come and they sit down with their families, so the decking bit's literally damaged.
Yeah. I mean, really, that should be up to the council. Di, do you want to say something about that?
Please.
Yeah, I'm sorry about this. I'm just really excited because our nature garden here, which was 4 or 5 raised beds with decking, and it was set up a few years ago, and it was totally falling apart. And in fact, the council actually locked the nature garden and said nobody's allowed in, which meant I couldn't go and put my compost in there. So I did whatever kind of letter, a guarantee to say I take full responsibility. I did fall through the floor, I have to say. It was dangerous, so they were in the right, if you like. But I knew, don't even ask them for any. I never ask them for anything. I've got a whole load of people here. Gradually, as time goes by, every time I speak to them, we all know, don't ask the council, because they're not going to help you. I mean, that's not out of badness. Maybe they can't afford it. Maybe they just don't care. Who knows? But if you take what happened in our nature garden, it's really inspiring, which is why I feel to say this now, is that because of the pandemic, the mutual aid group were really looking, they're young, zappy people, and they wanted somewhere to do gardening. And they were saying, where can we go? Can we help? And so we let them in, or I let them into the nature garden. And they started talking about, because the last number of generations, we need funding. No, you don't need funding. You need people power. And therefore, they didn't bother asking for funding. We knew that you could just dig up the framework kind of thing. So they did, because we can stand on the floor. We don't need decking to stand on. We can stand on the ground. The ground is lovely. We're in a nature garden, aren't we? So they removed all the decking to start with, and that exposed all the beds, the raised beds that were completely falling apart. So they removed one completely, but the wood from that, because they're nice, lovely young people, they saved all the wood and they've used it to build another couple of raised beds. So, and what I was actually thinking when you first started talking, Inez, was maybe we could send some of our young people round to your estate. But actually, you've probably got young people on your estate. They might be part of the mutual aid group, or, you know, maybe you could put a notice up that says, does anybody want to help with this sort of thing? I mean, it doesn't always, that's why I was quite inspired by Jerome, because it doesn't always get a positive effect, I have to say. But however, sometimes it does. And it is a time in history, if you like, or now is the moment where there's lots of people out there willing to help. So it might be that you're able to rebuild your nature or your raised beds from the remnants of what's there. Just take up the old bits and keep them and use them again. So you don't need any money. The council.
I would really agree with Di with this, is people power is the way. The council is a very slow process. Also, Friends of the Earth, Inez. There's loads of lovely young people.
I'm writing all this down. Friends of the Earth.
Lambeth Friends of the Earth. There is a whole, and actually if you contact me, I'll put you in touch with them. There's a whole bunch of really lovely young people who want to do positive stuff. They came and helped us dig up loads of old shrubs where we wanted to make a new edible garden on our estate, and they're fantastic.
All right then.
And Urban Growth is another one that they actually do funding.
You could look through Urban Growth, although I think they get their funding from the council, and but it's worth a try.
All right then, thank you.
And also, like, I think your beds might be made out of scaffold boards. So, you know, contact your local scaffolder and say, can you donate us some new boards?
No, they're not scaffolded. They're a lot better than that.
Are they?
They're the thick ones, yeah.
Yeah, contact Acre Lane Timber. Say we need some new stuff. Yeah, just phone them. Say we've got a community garden. Send them some photos. Say, what can you give us?
All right then, thank you.
And get in contact with us if you need any more help at Incredible Edible, Lambeth. Jean, did you want to say something?
Hi all, hi everyone. Sorry I was late coming in. I just got the sort of like nod from Marcia just this minute. So yeah, well, I'm from St Matthews, and we've got like a community garden and lots of little pockets of garden bits all around the area, all around the estate, I should say. And yeah, we're doing okay. We're trying to build some tranquility gardens across the estate, from like was it reclaimed wood and all sorts, just anything we can find really. We've got a couple of residents that are really handy like that. Just recently though, they met with Dan Jeffrey. Where's he from? Project repairs manager, resident services, Lambeth. So he met with them, and they're going to do some work on some beds and stuff. Wow. Raised beds across the estate. But wow. Yeah, it's I don't know, there's a group of core gardeners, about 3 or 4 of them, who they've formed the gardening club, and they go down every Sunday and they tend to the main garden bit that we've got in a certain part of the estate, and they're doing quite well. So yeah, I guess it is all about just trying to get people involved really. I don't think if you can get things for free, that'd be great. It probably takes a bit of ringing up and maybe emailing and stuff like that, but I would say galvanize and not worry so much about the council. Just try and get people enthused, people who love gardening anyway. They will definitely get involved. Yeah, that's it. That's all I really wanted to say.
Lovely, thank you, Jean. That's brilliant. And yeah, that seems to be what's coming out of this conversation. It's like people power and galvanizing people to support each other. And I think also, so we've got a estates WhatsApp group. So if any of you are interested in being on the estates WhatsApp group, email us with your phone number at Incredible Edible Lambeth. And that's where people on different estates can share ideas and experiences, and also resources, and support each other. Because really what I've noticed as well through this project is, and through working with IEL, is it's about strengthening the network so that people can share resources, ideas, plants, cuttings, seeds. It all doesn't need a lot of money. It just needs to be a way of doing stuff. Contact your local tree surgeon and get them to donate you free wood chip and logs to create gardens. It's actually for free. Anybody else? Ben, can I ask you, Ben Connor, so you're working with other grow back, have you been looking at different grow back greener projects that have been happening throughout London?
Yeah, so yeah, as Hannah said, so I work in the environment team at the GLA, and one of the things I do is look after our community funding programs. So we had the Grow Back Greener Fund, obviously, which launched last year, and as I put in the chat, we've just opened applications for a new round of funding as well. So very much welcome applications from yourselves. And also previously we did community green space grants and tree planting grants. So yeah, we've supported quite a lot of projects across London. Obviously it is kind of project funding. It is that kind of one-off funding for projects. But yeah, I mean, I think it's been really it's been great to hear about the progress of the project, and it's been really inspiring, I think, to hear about how the project is bringing people together in different spaces, through gardening and through looking after green spaces in that shared way. And also I think some of the challenges that you flagged around, I think I used to live at the Cowley estate in Brixton, so I've lived on Lambeth estate myself, and one of the things there was there'd been a community garden a few years previous, which had then fallen into disrepair. And I think one of those challenges is how do you maintain things in the longer term. But I think also that that sharing of knowledge and sharing of expertise. And I think what really stands out for me about this project is the way that Incredible Edible have brought together then the smaller groups working on the different estates. And even just in the course of this event, you can see people sharing knowledge, sharing ideas and helping one another. And I think that, as you say, the power of those networks is really important. And I think it's got me thinking as well, like there's lots of other similar projects which are focused on housing estates and community gardening and food growing across London that we've supported. And in various other boroughs there are networks bringing people together, and I'm sure there's, I think there's probably something in finding a way of bringing those networks together and people from across other areas of London to share those ideas around that particular context of housing estates and gardening and growing on those sites. So I think that's definitely something that I'll take away, is thinking about how we might be able to support that and facilitate that, because it is, as you said right at the start, these green spaces on housing sites are really important for people, and often are neglected, or are not fulfilling their full potential, I think, especially in those parts of London where there might not be big parks that people can access. So it's definitely definitely something that we're interested in. I see Jenny's just put about sharing the template of engagement, and that would be great. And I think certainly, thinking about how we can amplify and share those stories would be great. But it's been great to hear about what everyone's been doing.
Yeah, thank you, Ben. That's nice, really nice to hear back from you. That's great. Would anyone else like to share anything else? I think Di, you've got your hand up.
Hang on, yes, it's on. Please, can I suggest Georgina says something? Because she actually said she was going to say something earlier. I thought she was going to speak earlier, and then time passed. So now you have your chance, Georgina. If you want to, maybe not.
Yeah, I mean, I'm having a real problem kind of hearing anything that's being said. My hearing is just steadily getting worse and worse, unfortunately. So I've found it really difficult to follow what's being said. So I'm kind of finding it difficult to kind of hook in. I mean, I can talk a bit about kind of Caldwell Gardens, but I don't know. I mean, we're in a kind of quite a weird stage, because like we're 4 years in, and it's like we've now gotten to the point where we're we can't access any funding to get kind of gardening sessions, so we're now kind of feel like we've kind of come of age, in a sense that we're having to do it on our own now. I mean, there's still networks that we can tap into, which is really helpful, but it's been quite a kind of weird time. I mean, our numbers have dwindled tremendously, mainly because of COVID. So I mean, that's something that we need to kind of start kind of building up again, because basically there's about 3 or 4 of us, that's it. And I'm including kind of one family with four pairs of hands helping out, which is great. But so it's like we've set up, we've become established, and now we're kind of on our own and kind of more independent, really taking charge of our space. And that has actually been quite invigorating in one way, but it's just, I feel that at the moment there's just too few of us involved. I mean, there's 3 or 4 of us. We really are taking charge of that space and kind of doing our own thing in it, which is wonderful. But it would be nice to evolve, kind of involve more people in it again. So we've got to start kind of building that side kind of up for things. Janie, about the I keep forgetting what you call it, the template of engagement. Yeah, I mean, this is something, I mean, I'm still working on a letter to try and engage more with Lambeth and try to kind of get them doing more of the things that you're suggesting on the estate. We have managed to get a longer mowing cycle. So far, so good. I mean, maybe I should post some images. I mean, we had a long conversation with Mark about it, and so last time they came and mowed, they kind of mowed but left little patches of wild flowers. Kind of some areas big patches, but where there was only a few, they actually kind of, it's quite sweet. It might only be about, like a foot across, but they've kind of left little patches of wild flowers kind of dotted about, which is quite interesting. So more of that. Yeah.
Thanks,
We've got a lot of
Georgina.
work to do with the management.
Yeah, I think that has definitely highlighted there's a lot of work to do with the management and with quite stuck systems that aren't very flexible and not particularly open to I think a lack of kind of collaboration and willingness to listen and change.
Yeah, I mean, it's just
people quite stuck in their ways.
Yeah, very much just kind of on the paper that they're kind of listening to us, but kind of getting the action is kind of somewhat different.
Yeah,
and like I say, they're kind of set in their ways, and it's just
I think
let's keep things as they are, but we've got to push back on that.
Yeah, we've definitely got to push. And I think also I was talking to another resident, and actually systemic change takes a long time. We only completed the template of engagement earlier on in the year, and we're making great steps. You know, the fact that you've got little circles of wildflowers and the whole lot's not being mowed is a step, and it's a step in the right direction. And I think we're definitely, things do really take time. Things don't, I mean, that's a good thing for the funders to hear as well, actually, is like we have these time frames, but the reality is working with people and making change, bringing about change, actually is really quite a lengthy process a lot of the time. And it's interesting. Di, I'm going to have one more from you, and then we're going to finish them because I really don't want to go over an hour. Okay?
I'll be as quick as possible.
Thank you.
The last meeting that we had with Linda Elliott, that was the whole point. Jackie Meldrum, for example, and lots of the official people are all, oh, it'll take time. We haven't got time. This is a climate emergency. We need action now, which is why our terms of whatever they're called, terms of agreement or terms of agreement, the more we can work together. And great, Georgina, if you join the WhatsApp group, because we get really kind of fiery and cross and come on, let's do something. So for me, I personally went out and I've had all sorts of scenes with the mowing man, and if we were all working as a team, Mark Harrison, is it Mark Harrison? I think he would be wonderful. He appears from a distance to be really a great person. And if there's enough backup from all of us as a group, we could make huge strides.
I agree, Di. We are in a climate emergency, and we do need to try and push for change quickly.
I'm just very briefly hold up. This is what I've done for our estate. And it includes, it doesn't matter, you can't see it very well, but it's just, to get, first of all, we get the residents on board, and then we'll do the council as well. And we're going to have it done by the end of the year, as far as I'm concerned.
Fantastic. I think we should definitely, No Mow May has come out very strongly for a lot of estates. So I think that's a really good campaign for us to all unite against, is No Mow May. Georgina, a very quick one from you, and then I'm going to close the meeting.
I mean, just very quick, just following on from what Diane said. I think the reluctance to change is kind of built on the assumption that people on the estate don't want that change. So it's really up to us to somehow kind of get it recognized. I mean, I am planning on doing some door knocking and stuff kind of soon to actually get some feedback off people, to kind of feedback that actually people do want this to happen. And then perhaps that will give them a bit more of a kind of kick. At the moment, it's just like, no, we can't have long grass because people don't like sitting on their long grass for picnics. And that's not true.
No.
So, I mean,
that's right.
I think you're right, Georgina. Di, we're gonna finish in 4 minutes, but Jerome wants to say something. Jerome.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say, in relation to like resident consultation, when you're doing the door knocking or giving a leaflet and stuff, you're always, I'm not immaculate, you're always gonna get residents that have concerns and problems, but it's about molding your questions in a way that helps for like constructive like a constructive conversation. So for instance, one resident was complaining that a lot of people throw litter down, and litter was clearly a big problem. So when we were speaking to her, we were just like, what could we do to mitigate this problem? And then she just said, get some bins. So it's about like just phrasing the questions in a way that you get out the constructive side of their problem. So she suggested bins, and then we said, yeah, we'll get some signage. We'll do a competition for the local children, local kids. They can design a poster saying, please do not drop your litter, for instance. The winner will then be able to come with their family and put the posters up, for instance. So it's about including them in a constructive way and molding your consultation questions in a way that is kind of productive.
Thank you, Jerome. That's really great advice. Thank you. And thank you everyone for coming. I hope it has been interesting for you. If you want to get in touch with the wider network, please contact us at Incredible Edible Lambeth, and we can put you on the WhatsApp group. We can share information and resources with you. And I think everyone have a lovely evening. It looks like it stopped raining. Okay, thanks so much. Thanks for coming, Ben.
Thanks to everybody.
Anna.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Bye bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.